Hey, welcome back to our C# class. In this section of lessons, we're going to be focusing on the idea of recursion. And so we're going to start off with a presentation here that shows some examples of recursive programs and why we would use them. So first of all, what is recursion? As you can think of recursion as pretty much any function that has a call to itself. And so you can see in this picture here, a painter is drawing a painting of his hands painting himself. And so this is a case of an infinite recursion unless we put a limit on it. So why would we use recursion when we want to do programming? It's confusing, it has error-prone parts to it, it's difficult for beginners. However, sometimes the best way to solve a problem is by splitting the problem into smaller pieces of itself and then solving that problem. And so splitting is called divide and conquer. So it's more than just a programming technique, it's an algorithm. It's a way of thinking, it's a way of describing and defining problems. And so the original recursion geniuses were not computer programmers, but they were mathematicians. And so they were thinking like computer programming. So in basic recursion, you always start with a base case. So think of a case where we can find the easiest solution, and then we will make progress toward finding a better solution. Here's an example. What happens if I have an algorithm that is recursive? Like, for instance, show me all the things in a folder on my hard drive, and show me also its subfolders. So that is recursive because step one says show everything in the top folder. So let's say I see 5 documents and 2 folders. Then the next step is show everything in each subfolder in the same manner. So that would be open the folder, find everything in it. If there are more folders, open those folders, and so on. When we return back up the chart or up the list of hierarchy, we would repeat the process. So show everything in a subfolder is a recursive example. So here's a very common example of recursion in a math context, factorial. So first of all, let's define what factorial is. So factorial is take a number, multiply it by itself and every smaller number. For instance, 5 factorial would be 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. You could do this with a for loop. And so I have a program on the screen that says take a loop and go from 1 to n, and then just multiply by that product. So that would work. Here is another way to do your thinking. You could do a recursive definition of the same problem. So this function says if there is a factorial of 0, then return 1. So that's called the base case. So factorial of 0 is 1. Now factorial of 1 is 1 times factorial 0. And so you can see here in the code that we have a definition of a factorial based on a base case, which is if n is 0, then we'll return 1. Otherwise, call the factorial function itself using the next number smaller. So this is a very common example that you'll find in many textbooks and online if you search for recursion examples. So here's another example of where we could use recursion. Suppose we wanted to come up with a function that calculates the length of a string. So we have the function called length, and we have a string called str. So we would first of all check to see, is the base case true? The base case in this case is the string is null, or it is no characters. So that means we return 0. Otherwise, we do recursion, and we return the same function again. So we'll take the function of length, and we will take a substring of it, starting at the first character instead of 0, and we'll add 1 to it. So what does that look like in real code or a real example? So let's say we take the length of the string called ace. The first thing is we would take 1 plus the length of its substring. So the substring starting at character 1, which is C. Then we would do another recursion of the string, starting with the first character or the character in position 1, which is E. And then when we finally get to the last case, we get to the base case where the string is empty. So then when we return, we get a 0, and then we return a 1, we return a 2, and then we return a 3. And so you can see that there's an idea of a stack. So the recursion takes up memory in your computer. If you get too long, you might run out of RAM, but the stack will give you a recursive call. Now let's talk about factorial in action again. So let's take a look at this example. So the base case, factorial of 0 is 1, and then here's the formula. It says take the n times the factorial of n minus 1. So what if we tried to compute factorial 3? So the first thing is it says take a 3 times factorial 2. And then factorial 2 is translated into 2 times factorial 1. And then factorial 1 is split up into 1 times factorial 0. Now factorial 0 has a specific number. Its case is 1. So then you follow the parentheses outward again, and you have 1 times 2 times 3, and you get the answer, which is 6. So that's how factorial is thought of. We could code the factorial function this way. We could have a base case, which returns 1, and then we would have the function again calling itself. So this is a recursion because you can see the word factorial is inside the function of factorial. Here's another example. We could do a recursion for finding the exponents, or power you might say. So let's write a function called pow, and it returns an exponent of multiplying something to the number of times. So here is an iterative solution. So this is the for loop. So you can see that in iteration we just have a exponent where we have the product times x, and we do it y times. However, we could also program this in the manner of recursion. So if we define that the exponent of anything with a power of 0 is going to return to 1, that's the base case, then you can think of the solutions as also an exponent. So we could do x times power of x to the y minus 1. And so this function should return the same results using recursion. So if we were to run this, you could see we could take the exponent of 4 to the power of 3. So 4 to the power of 3 is 4 times 4 to the power of 2. You could also say it's 4 times 4 times 4 to the power of 1, and so on until you get to 4 times 4 times 4 times 1. If you forget to put in a base case, you will have an infinite loop or infinite recursion. And so you can see that this will continue on. This process that I just coded would not stop at 0, but it would go to -1, -2, and it would infinitely go until the memory of the computer was consumed and your program would crash. Here's another example of recursion in how you think of looking for a word in a dictionary. So something you do naturally. So for a binary search, or some people would call it a dictionary search, you would use something related to recursion as well. Let's say we're looking for a number. The number is 16. And we have a list of integers, and we know that 16 is in there somewhere. We just want to find his position number. So like you do in a dictionary, you start at the beginning and the end, which is A to Z. If you randomly open a dictionary somewhere near the middle, you look for a word, and then you determine, well, is my word before or after the middle? Also, you could think of the game as guessing high-low. Works the same way. So in this case, we take the first item, which is 4, and the last item in 43. We take the item that is exactly in the center of the list, which is 20, and we say, too large. The guess is too big. So now we're going to redefine the min and the max. So the min and the max now become, the first is the min, and then the max is going to become the one just before 20. So we're going to take the new min and max, and we'll have a mid. Well, the mid is too small, so now we're going to go between position 1 and 2, and it says, well, actually I found this is the perfect mid-max area, and I found 16. So binary search pseudocode would look like this. Given a list of sorted elements, we take the first and the last element, divide by 2 to find out where the middle position is, and then check to see if we're too high or too low. If it if it doesn't match, then we'll continue doing a recursive search. So the question is, when do we use recursion and when do we use just a regular for loop? So if the problem is small enough, it's a simple problem, then we'll just use iteration, or we'll use a for loop. However, if you can break the problem into smaller pieces and solve it recursively, you might have a better understanding of your code. It might be shorter code, it might be faster. Here's an example of a problem that we will be solving in coding exercises just ahead. It's called finding the greatest common divisor. So here's an old solution from Euclid, the ancient Greek mathematician. He says, if you want to take two large numbers and find the largest common divisor, follow this procedure. Divide them and take the remainder. So you can see that 34,000, etc., divided by 16,000 gives me a remainder of 85. I'll have to believe that. That's what the calculator says. Now, we can take that 85 and divide it by the second number, or the second number divided by 85. We get another remainder, 51. So you can see we'll take the 51, and then we'll take 85 divided by 51, we get 34. 51 divided by 34 now gives you 17. 17 goes evenly into 34 with a 0 remainder. And so now we'll take 17 and we'll call that the greatest common divisor, or the highest common divisor. And so in a matter of 5 steps, we solved a very complex problem that found the greatest common divisor. And so we'll be coding that in a C# example.